Welcome back to Comedians Saving the World. I'm your host, Zahan Khursigara, and I'm sitting here in one of comedy's most iconic clubs as far as Canada goes with the man who made it that way, Ben Guyatt.
Thanks, man. Thank you. It's nice to be on here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, appreciate you being on.
No problem.
So, before we get started, maybe just for the young people who don't know what Club 54 is, this place is it's a club that I grew up watching on TV, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's we've been doing stand-up comedy here for 34 years. We did the TV show here for 11 years. And I think we stopped taping in 2002. But it's in repeats and reruns all over the world.
Really? It's international now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on airlines. It's in Europe. It's done a... I'm kind of surprised that it's done really well, but I think the formula of the show worked very... It's a simple formula, right?
I contacted you once saying that I'm looking to try and do something similar but different. Right? And when I talked to the TV producers, they were interested, and then I said, what if we do it at Club 54? And all of a sudden their ears perked up. I said, you know what, that would be interesting. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's weird because it was really the first televised stand-up show in Canada. Just for Laughs came after us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so a lot of the comedians that were on this show gave the tape to JFL, and a lot of them made it, a lot of them didn't. But I lived in Los Angeles, and I watched how the Americans did their tapings.
So you were in LA before you started this?
Yeah, and then I went to New York, and then I came back here. So I watched how the Americans did things and how regimented they were. They didn't waste time or money. And when I presented the pilot script to CHTV, they liked it. We shot the pilot, and next thing you know, the show was on the air. And we did it at 3 different locations: Chaps, Veranda Beach, and then here at Club 54. So, everybody across the country seems to know the club.
It's a big room, too. So it's 200 plus people?
Yeah, tapings, we used to get 300-400 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was packed.
And I remember seeing the pan across the audience. It looked like
it was a ton of
theater.
People here. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun to do. My job was not to be funny on the show. Mine was just to introduce the guy here. Here's what he's done.
Yeah, I was watching a couple of the old clips, and you didn't do too many jokes.
No, because there was no time. Right?
Yeah, TV 22 minutes, I guess,
22 minutes, right? And you only got so much time to get up, introduce the guy or the girl, and then get the hell off, right? Because if the show's about them, it's not about me. All my work was in producing, editing, booking, all that stuff. So
you still got pretty famous from it, even though it wasn't about you, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I did okay with it. yeah. People still recognize me, even though I'm, a little grayer, a little fatter.
I saw that one clip where you said that at one point you were just getting phone calls in the middle of the night type of thing. Just people just wouldn't stop calling you.
Unbelievable, bud. Like I would get phone calls at 4 a.m. from Los Angeles because they're 3 hours behind us. So they get drunk
right after their party.
Yeah, I was getting calls from all over the world, but mostly from the United States and Canada. And they'd call at any time. And how the hell they got my number, I have no idea. But they got me.
Numbers get around, eh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it's been a good ride.
You said you think you're getting close to retirement now? We'll see.
I still like performing. I still like making people laugh.
Do comics ever really retire?
I don't think so. I don't think they do.
I mean, maybe they stop touring.
Yeah. I mean, I have no desire to go back on the road. I did all that road warrior crap. I don't want to do that again. I'm 62 years old now, so things are slowing down. And I think I made my mark and was smart with my money, so... But in the beginning, I was a starving artist like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And had to take the hard, long way. So
it worked out. Yeah,
worked out.
So Ben, what if you were ruler of the world? What would you do? How would you save the world? I know you used to end the show saying something about we share the world with the animals, take care of it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I never get asked that question. How would I save the world? First thing I would do would get rid of Justin Trudeau, I guess. That would be the first thing I would do.
I've seen you've been posting that since before it was popular.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. When did he get in? He got in, 2015?
15 or 16?
Yeah. I told everybody, don't do this. Don't vote for this guy. But they did, and hey, look where we are.
I did it twice. My bad.
Total disaster. So it's your fault.
I'm one of the problems.
All right. No, but politically, I would, if I could save the world, I would just let the people speak and get the corruption out of government, but you're never going to do that. Right?
No.
So, like Winston Churchill once said, democracy doesn't work, but it's the best choice we have.
Right.
So pick your poison, right?
Yeah, I keep saying to people that I think that we're moving towards communism.
We are in this country.
Well, I think the world. I think capitalism is pushing us into communism.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Right, with AI and
that's frightening, isn't
robotics and everything. Like if people don't have jobs, the government's going to have to give them money or something. I don't know. Like we're going to be.
And I do a lot of screenwriting. I have a few scripts down in Hollywood right now, and I sit there and I think, well, why do I even bother working on the next one? When some guy all he's got to do, or some girl has just got to type something into their computer.
A prompt, yeah.
There's the whole script, and it's perfect.
I've written like 5 or 6 short books with AI in 10 minutes. I never did anything with them. I was just doing it for fun.
No, but it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we won't even need humans anymore, right? For creative arts and entertainment. So, I don't know. But if I could save the world, that's probably the first thing I would do is... get rid of all like the World Economic Forum and those folks, and just let the people decide what they want. But we can't have that because capitalism, which I'm for, capitalism. But we all know who runs the world. It's banks. It's not the Justin
corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? But without them, where the hell would we be? We'd all be Russian, I guess. I don't know. So.
Well, my wife's from Cuba, so I was like...
Oh, so she knows?
Oh, yeah.
She knows what it's like. Yeah.
You know what? Cuban communism I think, is a little different than Russian and Chinese communism.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't know. I think like the Latin culture is a little different.
Yeah.
Like Cuba's not so bad. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
But the people there, they're relatively happy. They're hungry.
Yeah. I know they are.
But they're they dance in the streets. They drink. They have a good time.
Yeah.
Right. At least it's warm.
Yeah.
Communism and cold, like Siberia.
That's when communism sucks the most. It's bad climate. But that's my biggest pet peeve right now in the world is I just look at the Joe Bidens of the world and shake my head, and the Donald Trumps and
the problem is there's no good choices.
You know what gets me, bud, is you got the United States of America with 350, 360 million people, and Trump and Biden are the two guys, your best choices? You got to be kidding me. There's nobody else qualified or more brains in their head than those two? I mean, my cat is smarter than both of them combined.
Oh, they're the worst choices out there, right?
But, lobbying goes a long way. Money goes a long way. I'm sick and tired of guys like Justin Trudeau telling us, go green, be woke, be politically correct. It's humankind. It's not mankind. Here's a guy that's driving $1 million.
I still don't understand the national anthem. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And what few people fail to realize, and which was insulting to me, is that Canada's national anthem, "In All Thy Sons Command," was honoring the soldiers of World War I.
Right.
Well, Trudeau just pissed all over that.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to make the whole podcast about him, but he's the most dangerous man in Canada right now. He has to go.
But I think he's a bit of a simpleton.
And a narcissist.
Yeah, I don't think he even knows what he's doing.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a clue. I mean, you've got a Christiana Freeland, your finance minister, who's a former journalist. What the hell does she know about economics, right? Did she even take an economics class? But look at the debt in this country, and your kids and their kids and their kids are going to be paying for this for the next 60 years.
So I'm in real estate. I build homes. That's my day to day.
Well, then you know more about it than I do.
And people always ask me, what should I do? I want to buy a house. I tell them, don't buy a house in Canada.
Right.
Or at least in Ontario, at the very least.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The numbers just don't make sense.
I know. It's they make it so hard to do business in this province, in this country.
It's impossible. And then you saw that thing about the 66% capital gains tax on everything over $250,000.
You know what? It's funny you brought that up because 35 years ago, I bought a condo as an investment, and I lived in another condo, which I still live in. And for 35 years, you rent it out, and you're paying down the mortgage and all that crap, and then you finally have the paper burning party, the mortgage burning, and I'm free and clear on it, and along comes Justin Trudeau, and he raises the capital gains tax. Now, I did okay financially, but there's a lot of seniors out there who wrapped up their nest egg in their retirement in a cottage or another home, and now this son of a bitch change is going to tax it not at 50%, but at 67%.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
you're wiping them off the map, and he doesn't care.
I think once you've hit 65, you shouldn't pay tax anymore.
I agree, because you've paid them all your life.
right? I mean, as long as you've lived in the country for X amount of years, right? It's just insane.
What makes
like my dad's 80, and he just cashes out little bits of his RSP every year so he can afford to live.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, by the time I cash it out and pay tax, he's like, what's the point?
What's the point in doing it? Yeah.
You have to pay tax on the. You even have to pay tax on the money that the government gives you. That
you pay tax on a tax, right?
It's
and this climate change stuff. Personally, I don't believe in climate change. I just don't. Okay, it's just a tax. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And when you got countries like China that are responsible for 34% of the world's carbon, and Canada's 1.2%. Why are we paying a carbon tax? Do you know what I mean? Like it makes no sense. I
understand the rationale that they give you. I understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's a complete
I think it's
sham,
bullshit.
right?
Yeah.
My whole thing. I actually wrote a political, little paper a couple of years ago, and I believe that we don't need to have tax at all. No income tax, anyways.
Right.
If you get rid of income tax, we have a VAT tax or like an HST like we have.
Right.
But they actually charge it.
Yeah.
Right? So when you tap your card, that 15% goes directly to the government.
Right.
It doesn't get, the company can't hold it, and then they have to chase people down and all that nonsense. They did some study I read, and I think it was in Sweden or something like that, and they said, look, if we get rid of income tax, more companies will come to the country, people will come here, people will start making money, and they'll spend money.
Yeah.
You just have to charge them tax once.
But you know what? I used to be a card-carrying liberal.
So was I.
And now I've completely turned off because it's tax and spend, and screw your kids and their grandkids. And, you're going to be paying for. I mean, look at Ontario, bud. When Kathleen Lynn was in power with Dalton McGuinty before her, we still do have the highest sub-sovereign debt in the world at $400 billion in one province, thanks to the Liberals. Wow. And people are screaming about the poor health care. Well, that's why.
Yeah.
You can't, and everybody's going to think I'm crazy, but if I had my way, we'd go back to antebellum days, like before the American Civil War, during, and even shortly thereafter. A lot of Republicans and Democrats, and I agree with them, even though this was, 1864 and 5, go back to the gold standard. And what that means is, for every dollar that the government spends, you have to have $1 worth of gold in a vault.
Right.
That way you can't overspend. And as soon as you get off the gold standard, you see, well, look at Canada, $2 trillion in debt.
Yeah, Canada, the States, they
unbelievable.
Just keep printing money.
Yeah, and when you print money, pal, inflation goes up, the value of the dollar drops, and it takes more dollars to buy anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I look at Trudeau and Freeland, and I look at the whole Liberal Party, I'm going, do they even know what they're doing?
But how do you get back to the gold standard at this point? You have to cancel the currency.
You can't do it.
Couldn't you just cancel the currency? Like I've seen them do that in African countries once it gets to the point where you're spending $10 million on a drink, right?
It's
and they're
crazy.
like, you know what, we're just gonna bring a new currency in.
The pecuniary rules that apply to government don't apply to you. Like you can't overspend.
No.
Right? Or they'll take your house, they'll take your car, they'll garnish you their wages.
Yeah.
But the government can just spend. They print more money or they borrow more money.
Yeah.
And China owns what? I think, and this is the country that Justin Trudeau said he likes and admires their dictatorship. Oh my God, right? And they own what? Something like 6 or 10% of our debt.
Oh yeah.
What if they call it in?
Yeah. Well,
what are we going to do then?
But that's the question. What happens if a country calls in debt? Can they even call it in?
Well, they can call it in if they want.
Then what happens though? The country goes bankrupt?
Yeah. We already are bankrupt.
Yeah.
When you go from $20 billion debt federally to $2 trillion under Justin Trudeau, there's a major problem here. Right? And I think Canadians...
Where the hell's that money getting spent?
Well, you know what? In the last 2 years... I guess the
Ukraine's got a lot of money.
The last 2 years, he gave away $8 billion in foreign aid. Now, I'm all for helping people in need, but charity does begin at home. Because every time I'm out at a show or out shopping or whatever I'm doing, when I'm driving home, I see tent cities all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
We never had that in 2015 when he was elected.
No, that's true.
So I don't know, they overspend, we don't have enough money, there's not enough taxpayers in the country, so what does he do? He floods with immigration, and that's fine, I don't care that you do that, but that's vote buying, right? And you don't have housing.
You know what?
So where are you going to house them?
It used to be vote buying, but I've been talking to a lot of immigrants who come in that I meet at different places.
Yeah.
They're turning around and leaving, a lot of them.
I don't blame them.
They say, you know what? One guy told me, and him and his wife, he was living in Dubai before he came here. He's from Morocco.
Really?
And he told me that he was making really good money in Dubai, but they don't give you a passport there.
Right.
And the Moroccan passport has no value. So he's like, you know what? Canada, we went to the embassy.
Yeah.
They gave us the sales pitch. We said, great, let's move to Canada. He's like, I feel like they lied to me. That's what he said. He goes, the government of Canada lied to us.
Well, they lied to us. They might as well do it to everybody else, right?
And he said by living here, he feels like he loses $150,000 a year. But he's like, between taxes, the cost of living, the fact that he said he earns 150, his wife earns 150.
Jeez.
He's like, so we're both taxed to hell.
Yeah.
He's like, and we still can't afford a house. They live in Oakville, they rent.
That's crazy. It's nuts. And in Canada, I think at the end of the year, after all your taxes, your entire paycheck on every dollar you're taking home, roughly, I think 48 cents clear.
Yeah.
In the United States, it's like you're taking.
So that's after taxes, and then also after what you pay when you buy, like all the taxes.
Right. So really, for every dollar you make, you're giving half to government.
And that's if you're a low-income earner. Because if you're a high-income earner, you're
even more screwed.
Yeah, because you already
pay half. But in the United
half.
States, it's like 1/3. So they're still ahead of us.
They are, but the only thing with the States that we have to think about is you end up, it evens out a lot. So I think we pay something like $14,000 per person a year for OHIP.
Yeah.
For the healthcare, right?
Which the healthcare sucks now.
It's terrible.
It's horrible.
In the States, you pay about $15,000 to $18,000 for private insurance.
Yeah.
So you still pay it, and it's like they have tolls that run the roads.
Oh God, don't I know that?
Right,
yeah.
and here we pay more tax, and our roads are relatively better. So a lot of it evens out, but the system in both countries is not working. I mean, the States isn't doing much better than us, right?
You know what? The only thing, Canada used to be, it still is a democracy to a certain extent, but not really when the CBC is the state-sponsored media.
Right.
So they never talk about the bad stuff about Trudeau and all the bullshit that he's pulled. They never talk about that.
Do you think that's part of the reason why the Trudeau government fought with Facebook to get...
Absolutely. Yeah,
because you don't see any Canadian news on it anymore, right?
He's censoring free speech. I'm a history nut, right?
Yeah.
I'm a major history nut. And the last time you saw a government act like this was pre-World War II in Italy and Germany, where they start to suppress, freedom of speech. This is the way we want you to think. And if you go against, here's a perfect example of that. When the truckers in Ottawa, right? A lot of that stuff they said, like the Nazi flag, he was a plant. We all know that now, right? Mm-hmm. And for Trudeau to stand up in Parliament and call people that don't agree with him misogynists and Nazis, that's unbelievable that came out of his mouth when you have Jewish members of Parliament. But when you got all those truckers demonstrating, right, and it was their right to do so, some of them are still in jail, languishing in jail. Their careers are over, their bank accounts are empty. But for some strange reason, pro-Palestinians, right, get rounded up, right, or they're not being rounded up. And I don't want to get into the whole Middle East thing because I have an opinion on that. But how is it that you go after the truckers and you don't go after them? Like making an even, playing field here. You know what I'm saying? To be honest,
I don't know what I know they're the pro-Palestinian people are rioting. They're not really rioting, but they're protesting.
Yeah,
the only thing with the truckers that I know
that
was an issue is that they were blocking traffic to get into the States in certain spots. Right? That would be
couple of borders.
And that would be the only spot where I'm like, okay, guys, let's not triple the whole country.
University campuses, and that's where free speech is, and that's stand-up comedy. You're a comedian too. Really, stand-up comedy is the last bastion of free speech in the world, and they're even trying to infect us with their PC woke crap.
Well, did you watch the roast of Tom Brady the other day?
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
And they were not PC on that one.
No.
And that was live on Netflix.
Yeah.
So that was kind of good to see.
Yeah, it was. It's rare, isn't it?
Right.
It's really rare.
Because I recently wrote, because a lot of my comedy is relatively clean.
Yeah.
So I started writing some darker and some jokes that could get me canceled recently. Just because, you do a lot of shows with like university areas with young kids. They don't want to hear dad jokes.
Oh, God.
Like they don't want to hear about my wife and kids and all that kind of crap, right? So I started writing some more, some risky jokes.
Right.
And then I went to Toronto on Wednesday. I was trying them out for the first time, some of them. And of course, I ended up having the one crowd that was
PC woke,
and they were just shocked. And I knew it was going to happen before the show because I was chatting with some of them, and they were telling me, and I was like, they were like, oh, you can't say that word, and you can't say that word, and I was like, oh well, you guys aren't going to like my set tonight.
You know what it is now? It's used to be when people went to a stand-up comedy show, they were going there to be entertained. They were going to have a good laugh, to forget about the death in the family or the ugly divorce or whatever the hell their dog got run over. Now, people come to a comedy show to be offended. They come to see what will offend me. That seems to be more important than having a good laugh. And where did we go wrong with that? When did that change? I'm not sure why.
I've heard of a lot of guys recently getting kicked out of clubs and bars and being banned from places because the bar manager doesn't like their jokes. I don't know what jokes they made. Maybe they were really, really bad. I have no idea. But
can you imagine George Carlin starting out today? There's no way. There's no way he'd make it.
You know what I was thinking about George Carlin yesterday, and that's 7 words you can't say on TV.
Oh God.
But now you can say all of those words, and all the words you can't say now, you could say back then.
That's right.
Right?
The world's so messed up. But just to finish off that thought about truckers, you round them up like they're common criminals, and they weren't. And it's almost as if the government now in Canada is, if we agree with you, we'll let you demonstrate. If we don't agree with you, we're going to round you up and put you in jail and freeze your bank accounts. That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
That's scary. I mean, I don't care what your cause is, you have a right to protest. As long as you're not interfering with commerce or threatening public safety.
Yep.
It just seems like
if you're not breaking the law, right?
Right, and it seems like a double standard, a lot of hypocrisy with this government. His scandals this show isn't long enough to list how many scandals with him. And you saw what happened with the CBC at the committee the other day.
Yeah.
How much bonus did you get? They asked the president of the CBC. She wouldn't answer.
Of course not.
She got up and walked out. You know why? Because Justin Trudeau owns her. That's why, right? So, and you have Pierre Poilievre who says, well, I want to come in and defund the CBC. I agree 100%. And the reason I do is because my show, Comedy Club 54, along with Gene, Juan Mateo, the impresario, we didn't spend one effing cent of taxpayer money on that show. Not one red penny when the taxpayers did not pay for this show. We paid for it. How many shows in Canada can say that they're still on the air?
None.
Right.
Like I said, I'm working with some TV producers right now, and all they talk about is how much grant money they can get.
That's right.
Right? Because no one wants to put money out of their own pocket anymore.
Yeah. See, that's where, to me, the strongest survive. Like, why are taxpayers, you, me, your cat, your dog, why the hell are we paying for some production? I don't want to do it. I don't want to pay for that. If I want to do it, I'll pay for it. So the entertainment industry in this country is always hinged on kind of a socialist flavor.
But isn't that how Canada gets business from the States, though?
What, through
all the grants that they give and all the rebates
well, no,
and
the
everything?
only reason the Americans come here is because of the dollar.
Okay.
The difference in the dollar, the greenback, and our dollar, right? I mean, they get so much more value for the bang for their buck if they shoot in Toronto or Hamilton or wherever, right? Because it's, having lived in Hollywood, I can tell you it's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's unbelievably expensive.
And my sister lives in LA, so I'm down there. Go down at least once a year, and it's not cheap.
Oh, my God.
I mean, we're catching up here, though. It's not cheap here anymore.
No.
But still, over there, it's a little...
Yeah. In 1990, 91, when I left Los Angeles for New York, and I was married at the time, had a one-room apartment. Like, it was 700 square feet, 600 square feet. In 91, it was $2,500
U.S. Wow.
So I can't even imagine what it is now.
My sister has something about that size right now in L.A. It's a little one-bedroom, I think probably 700 square feet or so.
Yeah.
And she pays, I think, $4,200.
Oh, my God. It's crazy. That's insane.
And she's like, I want to come back, but she had a baby with someone there, so she can't leave.
Yeah, right, housing here, not enough housing, not enough money, it's printing too much money.
You look at the housing here, and the government would... And it's everybody. I mean, Ford keeps saying he's going to do something about it, then he gets scared.
Yeah.
Right? But
they're all the same.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in power.
Yeah, you can label them what you want.
Yeah.
But it's greedy self-interest, their pension. I mean, look at the MPs in Ottawa.
Yeah.
They're extending the election by 2 weeks so that they're all eligible for a pension.
Oh,
Are you getting that? Am I getting that? No. And Trudeau gave himself a $17,000 raise. Did you get a $17,000 raise? No.
Oh, I think I lost $100,000 worth of income in the last year.
So that's how I see the world. I don't know. I get rid of leaders like the Bidens and the Trudeaus and the Putins and Jinping.
Well, I guess this is the time when we can actually do something like that. Now that we have the technology, people could technically self-rule. I don't know if it would work.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Who knows what works, right? That's the problem.
The world seemed to be a pretty good place right up until about the 1300s, and then Europeans came to the North American continent and just, fucked everything up, and it's never been the same. Right?
I think it's always been a mess. It just looks nice when you read it in books because they only write down the nice parts, right?
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing that's dear to my heart, animals. Mm-hmm. My late father always used to say, he told me two things that I'll never forget. One was, if you want to learn how to do something, watch the government do it, and then do the opposite. Because they'll always find a way to bugger it up, right? Yeah. Which they do. And the other thing he always told me was that animals are smarter than people, and he wasn't wrong. Like animals don't murder. Like it's not in their
they don't kill for fun.
They don't kill for fun, right?
Right.
I mean, to eat, to survive. Okay, sure. So do we, right? So that's how I relax my soul. I feed the birds, I go for long walks, the nature stuff. I know it sounds really stupid, but after 60...
So, when you ended the show and you were saying to kind of take care of the planet, that wasn't a global warming thing, that was just a don't litter to choking animals, it was a different...
Yeah, like treat the animals with respect, treat your fellow humans with respect. When I'm driving in my car and I see some guy roll his window down and throw his coffee cup out the window, I'm thinking, what are you,
why?
Pig? You can't wait till you get to a garbage can to do that?
Right.
Like, that's the kind of thing I was talking about, right? But I just find that the moral standards have dropped, Zahan, I'd say, incredibly.
Oh, yeah.
Precipitously in the last 20 years, And the only things on the planet that still have any morality are the animals. Because they have been corrupted or tainted by money, greed, sex, all that stuff. So,
I think
pretty goofy comment, I know.
But it makes sense.
It does in a weird sort of a simplistic way, right?
It's we live in a crazy time. We'll see what happens.
It's a scary world.
Scary world. Do you have any kids?
No.
No
kids.
Yeah, so
I was married once, divorced back in '92. All amicable, everything was fine. I just followed my career route, and I really wanted to succeed and worked hard to do it. Made a lot of sacrifices to get there.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if I'd do it all over again, but there's a few things I would change.
No, the reason I ask is that's what really scares me, right? With looking at the future, because I have
kids that are going to be paying down.
My kids are 11 and 12.
Yeah.
So I'm like, will there be jobs for them?
Will there be a house they can live in?
Will there be a house they can live in?
Exactly.
Will there be a world?
Yeah, when you got guys like Putin threatening nuclear war.
Right. I mean, we lived
Ukraine and NATO.
The 80s and 90s were a pretty good time to grow up, I think.
Yeah, and now it's like I wouldn't want a child.
No,
because you're leaving them a world that is so messed up.
Yeah,
right?
It's a scary place right now.
It's a terribly scary place. But those are my two things to save the world. Get rid of the politicians like the Bidens, Trudeaus, and Putins, and Jinpings.
Get rid of the career politicians
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, which is most of them. Or the power-hungry plutocrats and autocrats and dickheads, right? And humans, if you paid a little bit more attention to the animal kingdom, you'd learn something about humanity.
Appreciate your time. So if people want to follow you, do you use any of the social media? I know you're on Facebook. Would you use TikTok or Instagram?
On Facebook. Yeah, you can look me up there. Sometimes I'll do a podcast, but I'm getting old.
Yeah. People can still come down to the club and see you.
Yeah, or come down to Club 54, see me.
Right, every Friday and Saturday, yeah.
And you can see this gentleman right here, too. We're going to have him at the club soon to do a show. So
that'd be great.
I appreciate having me on.
That's one of my bucket list items, actually, is to do Club 54.
Yeah.
Comedy Store and Comedy Cellar. Those are my bucket list locations.
Well, you're welcome here anytime.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I hope I didn't bore the hell out of everybody. Probably think I'm a nut now.
We're all nuts.